We're recording.
All right, and it's November 23rd, 2020. And here we are. I did get an email from Claudia, and she cannot come to class tonight because she has no electricity in her home.
Oh my.
She said they were doing some kind of repairs and came into some major snag. So this is the night she is with candles and flashlights. She'll go to bed early because it's dark.
Wow.
That's, I think,
Where is she?
in Wisconsin somewhere. I'm
Yeah.
not, she
Yeah,
told
that's what
me,
I
I
meant.
don't remember. So, because all our objects are portals, doorways to portals, and her house is dark, and because we get our guidance through our objects, remember I talked to you about the people say, how do I know, what my guidance wants me to do? How do I know what's going on? And the most important object we have is our physical body. So paying attention to that object ourselves, and how we're feeling is, of course, number one. And then a very important physical object in our sphere is money, because through money, we get to receive other objects, and receive all kinds of nurturing depending on how we spend it. So what's going on in our world is a way of we can have our guidance will work through money. Do we have enough? Do we need more? How do we feel about it? So that's why the new energies really encourage you to pay attention to your money stuff. Then the other things really have to do with the objects that are around us. And I know last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about the protection flashlight that Ron gave me to wish me protection, and what an important object it was for me. And now we've got a real important object. We've got a member of our class who is in the dark and can't attend. So we're going to have to figure out or get ideas about what that message might be for us, because it's not just about Claudia. She has all kinds of maybe other messages that are going to come to her that have to do with her space. But it's as important to heart, to our guidance, to have her in the dark as it is to have us here. And they're trying to point us to a certain way. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about dragons. Last class, we were talking about the partnership, and we were talking about the importance of objects is what we were talking about. And Nettie talked about receiving a bowl that was full of dragons from a dear, a friend of hers. And I missed the opportunity to explain that dragons are also one of our guides, one of our unseen guides from the other side, like angels. And so we're going to talk about dragons, and we're going to talk about mermaids, just so you know that we do have those guides as part of heart. And what's kind of interesting about both dragons and mermaids is they are denser. They're more connected to the bottom 9 chakras in our body that are, underneath our feet, which of course are darker. There's less light, there's a lot of dark, and they're very slow and they're very dense. And sometimes our healing is very slow and very dense, where we get we're not moving much today. We just go deep. Where did I go in that healing? Well, you went down to the heart of darkness, and when you're not moving very much and you're deeply sleeping, you notice lately that you've been sleepier than other times in your life. That's probably why, is we're doing a lot of healing in that dark place.
Oh my God. Really?
So, yeah.
Huh.
So we've got dragons and we've got mermaids. We're going to talk about that. But really what we're going to talk about is what Fruit Basket Upset this last week was for all of us. For every person on the planet, it actually was. I think it was 2008 when the stock market fell and lots of people lost their IRAs. That's when Clyde was rear-ended by a pickup truck going 30 miles an hour while he was stopped at a stop sign. And it made it so that he couldn't do the lifting he needed to do to be an audio engineer. And it took 4 years for us to settle that claim. And we almost lost our house during that 4 years because we went from 2 incomes to 1 income. And boy, it was close. It was a hard 4 years. And then physically, he was taxed beyond belief. And my body deteriorated during those 4 years. I don't think it was just empathy with his, but they told me that they were bringing up old DNA to have it on display for when we change, when we transform. So we brought this energy in 1992, the end of 1991. And the first years from 1992 to 2008, we spent on the past lives. We learned who we were during original cause, who we were during ancient times, who we were in our core stories, who somebody else was, and what happened to the goddess, what happened to God, what happened to the earth, why is the earth such a big mess? Why are the planets in our solar system dead? So we learned all kinds of things that I wasn't exactly sure why we needed to know it. Now I'm a little bit more sure that it's useful. And then in 2008, when he had the accident and everybody had their own version of car crash, I think, during that time, everything switched. We had built our jewel body and our core body before 2008. And so now between 2008 and now, which is about 12 years, isn't it? We have spent that time with our core body and jewel body healing our physical body, which is what their main job is to do. So everybody got different forms of healing from our core body and jewel body, even if you did not know that you had one. It was still happening to you. So people went through, shall we say, deep and dark, difficult, emotional times. And that's usually when the core body was bringing memories forward that you in particular needed to release in order to be healthier. And there was also a time where we expanded. Jewel body's all about expanding and connecting with other people and starting to realize that we have to build connections based on the here and now and based on letting go of the past, not build connections because of the past or through past alliances. So that's what the last 12 years has been about. And now we've got a new basis. It was about 10 days ago. Maybe I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago, now I think about it, that we received new frequencies to allow us on a cellular level to forgive our mothers and to forgive all mothers. I mean, mothers are always wrong. There's no parent that really does a good job, as you know. In fact, all you have to do is look at our Disney kind of religion to realize that the only mothers that seem to be around are the nasty godmothers and stepmothers. The mothers are dead, or they just don't exist. And we have a lot of that in the fiction of our culture, is that one or both parents are gone, but particularly mothers. So we haven't had the frequencies to be able to forgive these on a physical level. And once you have those frequencies, then it's possible to forgive. You will forgive on a physical level, whether you want to or not, because your body wants health. And then it's going to go up and become, what do I want to say? Emotionally, you'll forgive, and it'll expand your consciousness. You'll let go of a lot of shame and guilt and a lot of blaming. And maybe you won't even know how you got that way, but that process started, I think, 2 weeks ago. And that is the new foundation that the whole planet is getting. So the next between 12 and 20 years, I don't know how long it'll last, we are going to continue to build healthy foundations for nurturing ourselves and nurturing others. That much I know. If we can forgive our mothers, then there'll be all kinds of new foundations we have to build. And, finding protection and safety is one of them. I think we just finished building that one. And I was working with someone today, and I knew that we were going to start to build a new foundation to have our lives be based on, other than the fact we've been wounded. So we're going to vibrate out all kinds of wounding that we've been stuck with, and instead bring in what would be the alternative to wounding? Wholeness, bring in sweetness, some kind of joy. See, part of our problem, I think, is that we don't have enough positive language, words in our language. That joy means, could have probably 6 or 7 different words meaning the different kinds of joys we've been feeling. So I think it's going to be creative, because a pendulum has before now swung to being dark and evil and vicious, and we got plenty of words for that, I think. But we're now swinging the pendulum the other way. The other change that this means you're going to make, or you have made, is knowing you exist through pleasure rather than because you're in pain. So now, if you feel your existence is threatened, it's because you're not nurturing yourself enough. So to get yourself out of that feeling of, I'm going to die soon, all you have to do is nurture yourself, where it wasn't that easy before, because we thought we existed because we were in pain. So it's a whole different change. So since we have only 4, well, Clyde, you make 5, but 4 other people, have you experienced what I'm talking about in the last couple of weeks? Yes or no?
Yes. Where do I start? Maybe somebody else who has an immediate thought can say something and I can get my thoughts together.
We're not going to spend too much time sharing, but a little bit. So what we figured out, I don't know when, as Paul suggested, that you ask one of the other people so they're not wondering who should talk next. So pick one of the other 3.
Oh, Janet?
Okay. What's your experience been, Janet?
Well, I've been feeling a lot more ease in my body. Like when I go for my walk, my legs are super light and dancy, which is weird,
That's a pleasure, knowing
different. Yeah,
pleasure.
definitely. And my arms too. I'm feeling more mobile in my body and more fluid in my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's our most important object.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I guess there's only Laura left. There are only 3 of you in class. That's right. Okay. Have you noticed anything better or different for you, Laura?
Well, things seem to be improving for me too. The big struggle I've been going through has been easing up. So yeah, things do seem to be improving.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
For me, I'd been noticing how when I go to school, I work in elementary school, there was, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe the lightness that Janet was talking about may be the best way to just, there's so much laughter coming up in me about things like the kids doing things. And I just had such I was just so happy to be there. And yeah, just really feeling at home.
That sounds good.
With the people that I'm connecting with and surrounding myself with. I'm along those lines. Yeah.
Great. This is our 10th class, so we have 2 more classes. So in 2 weeks, it'll be December 7th. And 2 weeks after that is the 21st. So the 21st, Monday, the 21st is the winter solstice. That is the longest night of the year. Speaking of being in the dark. And maybe you know this, that the reason that each day then is full of more light after the winter solstice. Because then it's we're going towards spring and summer, even though it's completely very dark for a very long time still.
Yeah.
So usually in my house before COVID, I would invite 10 or 12 people in, and we would sit around in my living room in front of the fireplace and celebrate the solstice. And we're not doing that, not just because we have a class, but I can already feel that's going to be an important time for us. They already said, you're going to have everybody bring to the class a mushroom to eat and a spoonful of honey. So I'm going to have to send you a list. We're going to go through some kind of healing, centering ritual that night, I know. And I'm going to do some meditating on it and see if they want me to invite people that are not in the class for a solstice thing. But back to, where do I go? I did explain how things are different. Remember, we did a Zoom call, maybe about 2 weeks ago, a little less, where we became one with a fungi in the world. And I sent you, or Clyde sent you actually, that wonderful link to the movie. And I want to make sure I know most of you seen it. I want to make sure you see it, Cindy. It's really good. It's about an hour long and it is beautiful. The filming is remarkable, and they really are clear about how wonderful a life form the fungus with the mycelium are. When you see a mushroom, that is hardly 1% of the plant. The mushroom is like a flower, and then underneath it, it's not roots. They have what they call mycelium, which is fungus are built on spores. So mycelium are single celled, they look like roots, but they can be a line of spores that are miles long because of how huge fungi are. And so when you are looking at the fungi, they are essentially the majority of the plant are in the dark. They're underneath the soil. And then the mushroom comes up, and some of them are born in the dark, some of them are not, so it depends, like we grow mushrooms commercially in the dark, and there are some that are grown in, grow in dark places, but a majority of the mushrooms that are fungus that we have in the planet, we don't even know what they're for. We don't even have them named or cataloged yet. But it is what I think of as the brave new world of science that is really going to bring us all kinds of wonderful remedies to heal what's ailing us and to clean up pollution. And so you'll know more about that when you watch that film, because it'll show you some examples of that. But that again is another metaphor for the dark, and Claudia's in the dark tonight. And so what if she were like running where the mycelium are running, underneath the surface, where you're looking for where you want to go and where you want to be. Like you set an intention to take a deep breath and just look through or live through for a second the mycelium of where you've come from, and then look ahead to where you're going, especially where you're going now that you have forgiveness for the female, the mothering of us, and you know you exist through pleasure. I think that's uncharted territory. Kind of reminds me of Barbara McAfee's song. I can't sing all the lyrics to it, but it goes like this. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. It's a wonderful song. Next time, maybe we should play it for them, but I didn't think about it in time to get Clyde all queued up to do it. So, Claudia's in the darkness. Every time you go into the darkness, you return with fistfuls of jewels. So let's take a moment and put a hand on our heart and a hand on our navel. And I will sing that song 6 times, and you are going to drift. Pretend you're one with those mycelium deep within your consciousness. And you are going to imagine what jewel or jewels you come up with by the time I've sung it to you 6 times. And perhaps you'd be willing to share them with us. Are you ready? Hand on your heart, hand on your navel. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. Every time I go into the darkness, I return with fistfuls of jewels. I'll take a deep breath. And did you get a jewel from the fungi that are our guides? Did you get a symbol? Did you get a thought? Why don't you start, Cindy?
I came up with a handful of like peridot and like all the heavy minerals that you see in a strand line, you know, when a wave comes ashore,
Uh-huh.
and then the heaviest minerals drop out and leave a dark line along the beach
Yeah.
before the water takes the lighter ones away.
Yeah.
And so I came up with, they were more like grains than crystals or, you know, what you think of gems, but peridot,
Mm-hmm.
other heavier dark minerals were there.
That's fascinating.
Something about, yeah. It's funny because it didn't seem to connect with the mycelium as much as I want to do it again. And well, no, another time on my own, I want to think about the mycelium more.
Well, you
I
will
didn't
when
mean,
you watch
I didn't
that.
mean now. I meant like,
You'll watch the movie. You'll
yeah, I
but
think, yeah, I look forward to it. Yeah.
that's still a nice symbol if you think about it.
You know that feeling when you pull up a handful of wet sand
Yeah.
and some of it falls through your fingers and you just sort of sift it, and you see what's left there.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Janet? Did you see a vision of something?
Yeah, I got a feeling of sinking into my body further, like really being in my body
Mm-hmm.
more, and my whole body just relaxed,
Oh,
like feeling more me.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice affirmation.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Well, Laura, my love.
Well, I was dancing
Mm.
and feeling happy and spinning around, and coins were coming from my hands. And I was going up and up higher and higher and higher.
Wow.
Wow.
I think we ought to all try to get close to you.
Yeah.
You're comfortable in the dark. That's nice. That's great.
It goes with her picture in the background.
Yeah, it does. That kind of is a natural bridge to talking about dragons and mermaids. That guidance especially is useful for being in the dark. The mermaids help us when we are soul searching. You know how the sea is a symbol of our unconscious or subconscious mind, because you can see the top of the sea and there's so much life and goings on underneath the sea. And so a mermaid is a guide to help you sort out your unconscious or subconscious designs, or the unconscious or subconscious designs of people you're interacting with. If you're doing therapy on yourself, and you say, where did this problem begin? Your mermaid, you would end up going into the 18th chakra, which is, of course, the spirit connection chakra. Asked to talk to the mermaid, use an object and have maybe a rock of some kind, and bring your core body along, which is your historical body, and then have your mermaid show you where in your history you need to look for that therapy thing. So your mermaid is your guide to that, motives people have and stuff that's going on in the interpersonal realm. So lots of people who you think of are pretty intuitive and pretty sensitive. Especially those people whose feelings are hurt, where other people just might be fine. I think those people are closer to their mermaids, and they may not know they're mermaids, but they are closer to being connected with that realm. And, just because their feelings are hurt, that's a way they're getting some guidance. But you can also get visions and pictures and word kind of guidance through your mermaid if you know she's there, or and you connect with her. And the dragons, Clyde and I did a number of radio shows about dragons and dragon guidance, and I had kind of forgotten about it because I did not, like most of people, did not grow up with a guardian dragon. We all were, some of us were taught we had guardian angels, depending on what your faith was or what your family spiritual bent was. But I don't know too many families that talked about your guardian dragon, and they are known for everybody supposedly has a personal dragon. And if you Google how to connect with your personal dragon, I did that earlier today. I thought, man, there's all kinds of websites that'll tell you to, take a deep breath and do this and that and the other thing. One of those things ought to work for you if you'd like to find out who your personal dragon was. I connected with mine when we were doing this radio show, and mine was green. Mine was a sea dragon. And if you read too much of the literature about dragons, it talks about dragons being very close to the earth, and they're very pushy. They will help you be protective in a pushier way than an angel. So they'll direct you to think a certain way, or you'll get some idea in your head that you should do something, and then you'll do it because your dragon is pushing you. And then they had different symbols for different dragons. They had green ones and red ones and blue ones, and the black dragons were somehow something special that were special energy. And this is really before I knew that our friend Claudia's in the dark. I just thought, I'll look up black dragon, because I remember her talking this guest, and Clyde and I could not remember her name. And we talked to several people who'd kind of gone through the dragon thing on the radio with us, when we used to do, no, they couldn't remember her name. So then I kept trying to Google things, because I knew if I'd see her name in the Google, then I would remember. I'd go, that's her. No, I don't know what she's doing now, but I didn't find it. But I do want to read to you what the black dragon, it's really wild. I've got it here on my iPad. So I've got to, like I said, black is the ultimate driving feminine color, the shade of mystery and magic, of secrets and hidden hopes. When we are prepared to surrender to the black thoughts, they will cover us in silky black energy as we rest within this safe, dark place. They will ennoble the new to develop within us. Eventually, we will emerge like a butterfly, having undergone a profound metamorphosis. I thought, wow, that's what we're doing in this class. That's how the new, that's a nice description for how we're going to work with the new energies. You know, that how do you find, if there's never been a positive mother energy on the planet before, one that was healed, and we're in the process of creating that, what we're going to have to do to create it is transform, you know, like that butterfly, like that silky, dark place that's safe and where we're so, shall we say, encased. And then it said it'll emerge. Remember we talked about, I don't know how many months, a couple months ago, that there's a new way to transform death we're calling fertile emergence. So that's right up the feminine mystery alley. I just love that. So I encourage you to get to know your dragon. You know, go online and do that. Look for your dragon thing. How much time do we have, Clyde?
Well, it's 8:40.
Okay, we got 20 minutes. Huh. Well, that's interesting. And I just realized to move my computer, so I may not be able to be seen. That's
No,
better.
we see you.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I know the question. Why dragons? Why? What? What? How do you interact with dragons and mermaids?
You have to use your imagination to do that.
Okay. That's not a problem.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
You have to set an intention of what you want to know.
There you go. Thank you. I was just not getting, yeah, great.
And then you go there. The Loch Ness Monster was a dragon. There were, I think it was 1300 AD, that there were a bunch of dragons that appeared for a while on the planet. And some humans actually became dragons. I was one of those. I had a little time, I think 6 or 7 months of being a dragon, and my friend Chris did too. That's not necessarily something to be envied, because if you have human DNA mixed with dragon DNA, it's not so good for the human body. The human body goes, what do I do with this? So I did work through that, and I already asked if any of you were dragons during that time, and they said no.
Oh,
So one less thing to work on. Trust me. We can always do that. You can just borrow my experience if there's anything learnable, or somebody else's. It's now part of the collective experience. So it's, in a way, it's too bad Nettie's not here. She was the woman that got the dragon things conversation started.
who?
Nettie, the other person who's not here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, I know. How did she get it started?
She got a gift as a dragon, a bowl full of dragons. We were looking at objects as communicating
Oh.
what to do. Like, you know, you put your garlands and your lights up for the first time in 15 years, and you're
Yep.
going into new fun portals for the first time. So our objects we surround ourselves are very important in what we construct.
Okay.
So I think a lot of what we'll do is not know what a positive mother is And then we're going to use the mycelium to connect with each person on the planet and find a quality or a series of qualities or a reality or series of realities that have been positive in spite of how we've been damaged, and we'll construct a foundation out of that to create a way to mother ourselves and mother others that is extremely positive and new. And then, of course, we'll put love in that mix, from heart and from the planets and from the fungi and all the tree spirits and all the beings that are part of our partnership. So seems like the way we access our guidance is really going to be through a lot of imagination and hidden things, because they're not formed yet. And I think that means that we do have to still share with each other what past lives might mean for us, and what who we are, what is important to us, because we have to know what the old foundation is and what part of the old foundation we could use in building the new foundations. Does that make sense to you?
Wait, say that again.
We have to know ourselves so that we can use the old foundations and see what part of them we may use in the new foundation. What would serve us the best?
That's interesting. You should say that, because that this is a transformation. I get that old things can find their way into the transformed reality, but it's almost as if they're not the same thing at that point.
They're not.
Okay.
So they're telling me to have each of you close your eyes for a minute, make it dark, and just take a moment and think, if there's one thing I need to know about myself, what would it be? The first thing I heard when I did that is that I'm not responsible for somebody else's pain. I think that is a real old mother thing, how many times our mothers and dads made us responsible for keeping them happy, or responsible for somebody else's pain isn't just a occupational hazard of a healer. I think it's some part of so I will eliminate that from my foundation or my need. I can let that go, but it's important because of each of us needing to know who we are to know what we're letting go of. See? Did any of you get a message about what it is you need to know? I'm trying to help you understand how this works if you're wondering what we're doing.
Well, I got the word new.
NEW?
Yeah. I didn't quite understand where that came from.
Well, it could be new, NEW, or it could be new, KNEW. When you're in the darkness, you can't see how it's written, but you can feel, is it new or is it new?
Yeah. Wow.
That's the kind of road we're walking on.
Okay.
Did you find anything out? Anything you needed to know? Laura or Janet?
I didn't get anything.
Okay.
I didn't either.
I think I have so much I need to know that.
No, you certainly don't want it all to come raining down at once, would you?
No.
No, that wouldn't be good. Well, I feel like this is a good place to stop, even if it's not quite 8 o'clock. I sure will see you in 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
of course, I'm very thankful, very glad you're alive and I'm alive.
Mhm.
We're having a Thanksgiving well wishes.
Yes, to everyone.
Yes. Thank you for sharing, Jaentra.
Yeah, this has been nice,
Oh, thank you.
helpful.
And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Mm.
I managed to find a very small turkey, so I'm happy for
It's hard to
3.
find this close to Thanksgiving. Good.
What? What, Jaentra?
It's hard to find a small turkey this close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I love you.
Love you too.
Hello to you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Yep, good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.